Spaceships and cool computers are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is May 6, 2024. It is the 127th day of the year. You got 239 days to pull this one out. You could pull it off. You could make this a good year. This year is a so-so year for me so far. I mean, nothing terribly exciting, nothing tragic yet, so it's a solid year, just nothing terribly exciting. Today is the 19th Monday in the 19th week and the 49th day of spring. We got 46 days left until summer. Today is National Nurses Day. All hail the nurses. My daughter's a nurse. National Nurses Week begins on May 6th and ends on May 12th, which is the birthday of Florence Nightingale. She was born on May 12th, 1820, and passed away on August 13th, 1910. Florence Nightingale was a celebrated English social reformer and statistician and the founder of modern nursing. She became well known while taking care of the wounded soldiers during the Crimean War. All right, let's see what else May 6th has given us. 1937, the Hindenburg disaster. The German Zeppelin Hindenburg catches fire and is destroyed within minutes while attempting to dock at Lakehurst, New Jersey. 36 people were killed. When I was a kid, there was always these disaster movies and things like that, and documentaries about disasters. You could actually go to the movie theater and see them. These weren't always on television. They always seemed to be hosted by someone like Leonard Nimoy. I saw this one thing on the Hindenburg, but for some reason I just thought this was the greatest news event that the world had ever seen. And then, as I get older, I realize, that was really just kind of a minor incident one day. But I was fascinated with it. I think the biggest thing about it, it was one of the first disasters that was really caught on film. 1996, the body of former CIA director William Colby is found washed up on a riverbank in southern Maryland, 8 days after his disappearance. Now, this one was interesting for a few different reasons. The amount of conspiracy theories that came out about his death was just astonishing. But, he's the head of the CIA at one point in his life, so, conspiracies are going to follow him no matter what. He could have blown out his knee, and there'd be conspiracies about it at the time. Anyway, on April 28, 1996, Colby set out from his weekend home on Rocky Point, Maryland, for a solo canoe trip. His canoe was found the following day on a sandbar in the Wicomico River, which I believe that's what it's called. It's a tributary of the Potomac River. Anyway, about a quarter mile away from his home. On May 6, Colby's body was found in a marshy riverbank lying face down, not far from where his canoe was found. After the autopsy, Maryland Chief Medical Examiner John E. Schmalik ruled his death accidental. Schmalik's report said that Colby was predisposed to having heart attacks and strokes. And he may have had one and fallen into the cold water. And he probably succumbed to the effects of hypothermia and drowned. After Colby died, some people started saying there might have been a plot to kill him. In a documentary made in 2011 called The Man Nobody Knew, Colby's son Carl said that he thought his dad felt really bad about not being a good dad to one of his daughters for some reason, so he might have taken his own life. That just sounds like some weird family drama that this guy's attributed to. Whatever, I don't know. It just sounds like the strangest thing out of all of them. The guy's an ex-CIA guy. He has all these heart problems. There's a million and one things that could have happened with this guy's death, and the sun settles on he was a bad dad to one of the kids. Anyway, Colby's wife and other kids, along with the writer who knew Colby really well, disagreed with this son's assessment. They said that it didn't make sense that he would do that because it didn't match his usual behavior. I went down this weird rabbit hole of conspiracies while reading about this one. One guy's under the impression a Russian mini sub caught him, or, was looking for him, and found him out on a canoe a quarter of a mile from his home and sent some sailors out of the mini sub and drowned him and threw him in the marsh. 1998, Steve Jobs and Apple unveiled the first iMac. This computer, if you're not a computer fan, okay, but if you're a computer fan, this one was amazing. It came out and it looks so much different than other computers. My daughter had one of the first ones. It wasn't a laptop. It was the size of a small, let's say, colored TV you might have had as a kid in your room. And you could just pick this thing up and move to another room with it. Its introductory price was $1,299. In today's money, that's about $2,400. This may seem trivial, but they actually were colored. Computers back then were white, and a few of them might have been black, but this one came out in like a turquoise and a pink and an orange and I think a yellow and a red. Steve Jobs' biggest talent was knowing what people would buy and what they wanted. I know a lot of people talk bad about him because he wasn't like a computer programmer or anything like that, and they say he really didn't contribute to anything. He pushed a lot of the products that ended up being like amazing because he knew what people wanted. 2002, the founding of SpaceX happens. Yes, Elon Musk's SpaceX, which is now shooting satellites into the sky, and I believe he's playing a big part of the return to the moon for the United States. 2010, in just 36 minutes, the Dow Jones average plunges nearly 1,000 points in what would be known as the 2010 flash crash. 2023, the coronation of Charles III and Camilla as King and Queen of the United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms is held in Westminster Abbey, London. I just watched this whole thing on Princess Diana. An amazing woman, just incredibly classy. And, I've never met her, obviously, none of us have, but she seemed incredibly classy, just a caring human being. So unfortunate. Movies released on May 6, 1994, Being Human. This was a really good movie that I think a lot of people overlook. It starred Robin Williams. It is about a man named Hector who gets the chance to live 5 separate lives through different periods in history. He is reincarnated as a Celt, a Roman slave, a Scottish crusader, a shipwreck victim, and a modern-day New Yorker. After poor test screening, Warner Brothers instructed writer and director Bill Forsythe to cut 40 minutes, add narration, and a happy ending. I've never seen the long version of it, but sometimes when executives get involved in a movie, it kind of kills the movie. I think that's why a lot of people didn't really see this one. Do you know executives came to Peter Jackson and they wanted him to do all these different things with Lord of the Rings, including having one of the hobbits die? It's from a book. You don't just start icing characters to get better ticket sales. If they would have gone totally away from the book and killed one of the hobbits, it would have gone from one of the greatest movies to one of the worst movies. Sort of like what they did with Marvel's Fantastic Four this last time around. If you don't know, Fantastic Four is a comic book about a superhero group. A brother and a sister, a really good friend, and the sister's boyfriend. The boyfriend's a scientist. She's like a scientist. Anyway, they all go up into space. They get their powers. They come back. So that's the whole premise. A brother and a sister, a boyfriend, and a best friend. Well, they started messing around with the core storyline in this latest version of Fantastic Four. You can't do that to comic book people. You can't just start messing with comic book history. They won't watch the movie, and they didn't. Anyway, Being Human was still a pretty good movie. I would have really liked to have seen the whole version of it. Born on May 6th, 1961, George Clooney, actor, director, writer, and producer who became the first person to be nominated for an Academy Award in 6 different categories, winning his first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in his role in the 2005 movie Syriana. He also portrayed Dr. Doug Ross on the medical drama ER from 1994 to 1995. That was a great series. I loved it. Me and my wife used to watch that religiously. Our kids were young, and then all of a sudden, kids were dying on the show. I guess it hit good ratings because it was like every other week, some kid died in the ER, and we couldn't watch it anymore. There was a movie that did the same thing to me. It's called City Hall. It starred Al Pacino, John Cusack, Bridget Fonda, Martin Landau was in it, Danny Aiello. The movie starts off where a undercover cop goes to confront a drug dealer. And they're showing people walk around. It's early morning. There's like people picking up the newspaper from their front lawn, a guy making his deliveries, a large black man walking his son to school, people waiting for the bus. Anyway, this detective or undercover cop goes up and talks to the drug dealer. Drug dealer pulls out a gun and they start shooting at each other. When the dust settles, you look around. The guy that was getting his newspaper on his lawn is laying on the ground all scared. The lady that was at the bus stop is holding her leg. She'd been shot in the leg. And then they showed the large black man holding his lifeless son. I heard it was a good movie. That's as far as I got. But hey, it's George Clooney's birthday. Died on May 6th. 1862, Henry David Thoreau, American naturalist, philosopher, and author who is best known for Walden, a literary classic that advocates an uncomplicated life in natural surroundings. He was a key figure in the transcendentalist movement and was also a prominent abolitionist. One of my favorite quotes is from him. It's from the book Walden. I went into the woods because I wished to live deliberately. There's a whole bunch more that goes to it, but that part really has always stuck with me. His works influenced the literary development of Leo Tolstoy. Thoreau had contracted tuberculosis in 1835 and suffered from it sporadically afterwards. In 1860, following a late-night excursion to count the rings of a tree stump during a rainstorm, he became ill with bronchitis. His health declined, with brief periods of remission, and he was eventually bedridden. Thoreau spent the last years revising and editing his unpublished works, particularly The Maine Woods and Excursions. His friends were alarmed at his diminished appearance and were fascinated by his tranquil acceptance of death. Aware he was dying, Thoreau's last words were, "Now comes good sailing," followed by two lone words, moose and Indian. He died on May 6, 1862, at the age of 44. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.